You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can't go with other boys. And don't tell me what to say. And don't tell me what to do. Don't put me on display, 'cause you don't own me. No, don't try to change me in any way. You don't own me. Don't tie me down, I will never stay. And don't tell me what to do, and don't tell me what to say. And please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. I don't tell you what to say. I don't tell you what to do. So just let me be myself. That's all I ask of you. I'm young, and I love to be young. I'm free, and I love to be free to live my life the way I want, to say and do whatever I please. You don't own me. Woo! Woo!
Good morning. I'm not sure how I'm going to follow that. Thank you. My name is Kim Clokey. I'm here today in my capacity as chair of our social justice team and as worship leader today. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm grateful to be here with you this morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati, occupying land that is the ancestral home of the Adena, Hopewell, Miamia, and Shanandasi people. We are a community committed to social justice and to supporting the various spiritual and ethical paths of our members and friends. Our community is changing and evolving in many wonderful ways. We are striving to be the most welcoming community we can be, so we provide for all of us gender-neutral restrooms, hearing assistance devices, space for our children to be part of our community, and we encourage you to make yourself comfortable in our worship and community spaces. If you would like to know more about our Unitarian Universalist community, please contact us by emailing member-care@firstuu.com. And I understand we have an update from our board on our ministerial search.
Thanks, Kim. And my name is Barbara Dickerson. I'm part of the crew of 4 church members who are working on the first draft of the document right now. We just wanted to give you an update on where we stand, reminder of the process. So we are closing in on a first draft. We are going to be sharing the document with other members of the board, because we want this very much to be a board product. That's on deck for this week. Our next goal is to send the document to Reverend Lisa Presley for her input, because she is the person who is guiding and encouraging us through the process. And once the document is into the interface for at the application portal, it will be open to potential applicants the beginning of February. So we will continue to share updates with you. We're very happy with the way the work is progressing. And we've been contacting people in the congregation for input. Thanks to everyone who has helped us out on this journey. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Now let's light our chalice. As we light it, I'll just do a quick reading. We kindle this flame with love for mothers and for mothers past, present, and future. We kindle this flame in celebration of community and its generations. We kindle this flame with respect and support for the greater circle of life of which we are all part. Now, please rise as, I'm sorry, I went out of order.
Am I okay here? This is a reading for All That Is Our Life by Reverend Rebecca Ann Parker. Why does it matter that women's reproductive choices be protected? Because we live in a broken world where life is at risk in many ways. The power to choose is the power of life. In the midst of brokenness, without choice, tragedy, impasse, and despair are the last word. With choice, creativity, responsibility, and possibility enter the conversation. With choice, human beings enter into fuller personhood, becoming creative agents in the world who can transform life in the direction of greater justice, safety, and joy. A society in which human beings accept that life and death are in their hands is a better society. Embracing creativity and responsibility is a spiritual value that applies beyond the questions of pregnancy and childbirth. To know that we have choice is to know that life is not premeditated, that we do not simply have to comply with established structures, rote patterns, or the dictates of despair. It is to know that we are not helpless in the face of overwhelming events. We all need the spiritual knowledge that life and death are in our hands. And we all need to do the hard work of ethical discernment, of accepting that life and death are ours to choose. Why should we march to keep abortion safe and legal? Because where there is choice, there is life. There is hope. And where there is hope, we find ourselves holding bundles of joy in our arms. Each of us bears in our own bodies the powers of holding on and letting go.
Right. Now, please rise as you are willing and able and join us in our vision song. The words will appear on the screen. Afterwards, we will briefly turn and greet our neighbors before I call us back together. Now, please turn and greet your neighbor. Thank you. It's now time for our story for all ages. After that, we will sing our children off to their classes.
Hattie Hates Hugs by Sarah Havorka. Illustrated by Heather Brockman Lee. Today was Hattie's big family reunion. Her favorite relatives, Uncle Jake and Aunt Celia, would be there. They were world champion horseshoe pitchers, and they had promised to play with Hattie. She would have been excited, except everyone would try to hug her. She shivered just thinking about it. Hattie loved her family, but she hated hugs. As soon as she got out of the car, she heard, "Hattie? Hattie!" She tried to make herself smaller. "There you are! Give me a big hug," Aunt Judy said. Hattie wrinkled her nose. Hattie Hates Hugs by Sarah Havorka. Illustrated by Heather Brockman Lee. Today was Hattie's big family reunion. Her favorite relatives, Uncle Jake and Aunt Celia, would be there. They were world champion horseshoe pitchers, and they had promised to play with Hattie. She would have been excited, except everyone would try to hug her. She shivered just thinking about it. Hattie loved her family, but she hated hugs. As soon as she got out of the car, she heard, "Hattie? Hattie!" She tried to make herself smaller. "There you are! Give me a big hug," Aunt Judy said. Hattie wrinkled her nose. Aunt Judy smelled like asparagus, and her arms felt like boa constrictors. A squirmy feeling twisted in Hattie's stomach. "Hi, Aunt Judy," she mumbled as her body stiffened. Hattie tried to shake off the prickly feeling and ran toward the horseshoe pit. But then she heard, "Hey, Hattie!" She dodged behind a bush. "Boo!" It was her cousin, Louis. Hattie tried to say no hugs, but he squeezed the air out of her before she could get a word out. Hattie liked Louis, but she hated hugs. "I don't like hugs," she said. "I love hugs and tickles," Louis said. Horrified, Hattie crossed her arms over her body. Hattie peeked at all the relatives between her and the horseshoe pit. She couldn't hide from them, and she couldn't talk louder than them. She didn't want to be touched at all. How was she going to make it through? They were all hugging or kissing or holding hands, except for Great-Grandma. Hattie crept across the yard and shyly sat next to her. "Hi, Great-Grandma." Then, Without warning, all her uncles and aunts and cousins surrounded them. "Oh, aren't you adorable?" Whiskers scratched her face. "Ow." And perfume clogged her nose as Hattie was squeezed in the heap of relatives. "Stop!" Great-Grandma's voice was loud and firm. She gently shook her head and put her arm protectively in front of Hattie. And they stopped. "That was amazing!" Hattie exclaimed. "Come, take a walk with me," Great-Grandma said, slowly rising from the bench. The noise of the relatives melted into the quiet of the trees. The squirmy feeling in Hattie's stomach started to unwind. "I don't like hugs, same as you," Great-Grandma said. Hattie's eyes widened. "Really?" "I feel uncomfortable when people hug and touch me too much." "Even people you love?" Hattie asked. "Even people I love," she nodded. "It's okay to tell people you don't want to be touched, but sometimes people hug without asking first. You can back away or hold your hand up and say, 'No, thank you, I don't like hugs.' Then try something else, like a handshake or a wave." "And they won't hug me?" Hattie asked. "They shouldn't, and if they do, then tell someone you trust, like your mom or me." Great-Grandma smiled. "We'll tell them to stop." Hattie thought about what Great-Grandma had said. Saying no to hugs sounded so simple. Why was it so hard? Hattie started to worry again as she returned to the rest of the family. Beyond the crowd, Hattie spotted Uncle Jake and Aunt Celia raking the horseshoe pit. "Go have fun," Great-Grandma said. So Hattie darted toward them. But Lump! She ran into a big group of relatives instead. "Hattie, we haven't seen you much. Come talk with us," Aunt Judy said. "I'm going to play horseshoes now," Hattie said. "And just a quick little hug." Asparagus smell wafted over Hattie as Aunt Judy leaned toward her. Squirm, squirm, squirm went Hattie's stomach. Then Hattie raised her arms straight in front of her. She shook her head no, and she burst out, "I hate hugs." Everybody stopped. Everybody stared. Had Hattie been rude? Had she been too loud or too forceful? Then Aunt Judy smiled. "She's a chip off the old great-grandma block." Everyone laughed. Lewis flashed her a thumbs up, and Great-Grandma winked at her. The squirmy feeling in Hattie's stomach melted away. Hattie waved at everyone, and they waved back. Excitement bubbled from her feet to her fingertips. Hattie skipped through the relatives to the horseshoe pit. "Hi, Hattie. I heard you don't like hugs," Uncle Jake said. "That's right," Hattie said. "But a high five could be okay sometimes." "Is that a new horseshoe?" Aunt Celia asked. "It's my lucky horseshoe," Hattie replied. Aunt Celia smiled. "Let's test it out then." Hattie had a great time at the family reunion. She even won a game of horseshoes. And she found a way to connect with her relatives without a single hug. Only you have a right to say what happens to your body. I wonder, have you ever felt like Hattie? What did you do?
As we gather this morning, we lift up the joys and sorrows that we've experienced as individuals and as a community since the last time we gathered together in this space, in our sanctuary and online. I'll ring the bell to start a moment of silence. Afterward, we'll enjoy some more music by our house band and the flowers donated by Mary Mark in honor of January birthdays. I have a January birthday, so thank you, Mary. I'll thank you on behalf of all of us. So let's start our moment of silence.
Listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted. Don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard. You gotta be tough. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool. You gotta be calm. You gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Herald what your mother said. Read the books your father read. Try to solve the problem in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you. Others take a different view. My, oh my, hey, hey, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Time asks no questions, it goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can't stand the pace. The world keeps on spinning, can't stop it if you try. The best part is danger staring you in the face. Oh, you gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. All I know, love will save the day. Oh, love will save the day. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And thank you all. Thank you all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Conley, and I'm leading this responsive reading, and your response is going to show up on the screen very soon. It's may we reach out in honesty and love. In the spirit of love, harmony, and remembrance, we stand too often divided, too often set apart from one another in heedless ways. We seek to be compassionate, but our vision may be clouded or distracted. We too often go forward day by day and look without seeing. May we touch honesty and love. When we see the afflicted, however they are afflicted, may we not shrink away. May we not blame suffering on the one who suffers. May we be courageous enough to perceive suffering and compassionate enough to attend to the voices of those who suffer. May we reach out in honesty and love. May we not turn away from the wounded head of the abused. May we not accept the twisted reasoning by which the oppressor declares himself the victim. May we reach out in honesty and love. Let our gratitude for good fortune in our lives lead us not to complacency, but to awareness. Awareness of those whose lives are shadowed by abuse or neglect. May we not ignore signs of deceit or denial that hide brutality. May we reach out in honesty and love. In all things, may those who suffer ever be able to approach us, find a kindly ear and a supporting hand. May we witness for love and justice at every level of relationship. May we nurture a keen eye and a strong and loving heart for any who fear the hurtful rod, the cutting voice, the uneven hand, the chain of oppression, great or small. May we reach out in honesty and love.
Okay, thank you, Jan. The theme of I back up again. I went out of order again. This is my first service. I'm very sorry. The responsive reading was written by Reverend Dennis McCarty, who's a friend of our church. He'll actually be back on our pulpit later this month, if you liked his words. So the theme of our service today is My Body, My Choice. Today we are focusing on reproductive health, but Meredith, in her Story for All Ages, beautifully illustrated how that concept can apply to everyone, whether or not they are able to reproduce. For me, that's My Body, My Choice is a simple but a radical concept that individuals have the right to control what does or doesn't happen to our bodies. This has been a fundamental part of my personal belief system since before I can remember, and I find any attack on those rights to be offensive and unacceptable. Before telling you about myself, I want to make space for the women who lived, fought, suffered, and died so that I could have this platform today. I will be talking about reproductive health, and much of modern medicine or gynecology, including my understanding of my own body, was built on horrifically abusing the bodies of enslaved and subjugated women of color. As a white woman who benefits from modern healthcare, this truth is difficult for me to internalize, and I to find the right words to share with you today. I don't think I have those words, and I may never have them. But it remains true that women of color and Indigenous women are more likely to experience and to die from pregnancy-related complications, more likely to be uninsured, and less likely to have access to quality prenatal care. I hope I can honor past lives and amplify living voices to dismantle and crush the systems that still work to keep us separate. And when I refer to women, I don't only mean people who have a uterus. I also make space for transgender women, non-binary people, anyone who identifies as a woman, and anyone who stands in solidarity with the fight we all face. Men, that includes you. Women in the transgender community face difficulties that I can't imagine as a cisgender woman, but please know I stand with you and consider you equal in the fight to claim our rights. When I use words like women and girls, I also mean you. So, having been given this platform, I want to talk today about periods. As a society, our collective understanding of women's bodies is lacking. That's the nicest word I could come up with. I wanted to use a stronger word. This starts with F, but we are in church. Before we talk about pregnancy, family planning, abortion, prenatal care, let's take a step back and think about how we can empower girls well before they may have to deal with these issues. How are we teaching girls and young women about their bodies? That's a rhetorical question. I don't expect an answer, but I ask you to consider your own experiences in school, raising children, raising grandchildren, with any girls you may know. In my experience, I've encountered women who are into their 20s and sexually active who didn't understand they have separate organs for sex and urination. Women in their 20s. I've been horrified each time this has happened. And no, none of these women will feel individually called out if they watch this service because it's been multiple women who lack this basic understanding. And what does that say about our education systems as they relate to young women? It doesn't say anything good. We know that when women and girls have information and the services and the means to make decisions about our own bodies, we can plan our own lives and realize our full potential. However, I have little to no faith, I'll just say no faith, in the established systems. And I believe the best thing we can do is help each other. So let's give our children the proper names for their bodies. Cutesy nicknames may make our society feel more comfortable with the idea of female sexuality, which is a reality. But do they help our girls grow up to have healthy relationships and make good choices for themselves? I don't think so, personally. Saying the word vulva may be uncomfortable in the moment, but I just did it and it'll be on YouTube. It's not so bad. Let's also support our young people who menstruate. Let's treat periods like the normal bodily function that they are. It's already unpleasant enough as someone who has a period to have cramps, unpredictable emotions, fatigue, be hungry all the time, and go through several days worried about bleeding through your clothes every month. Let's make it easier by talking plainly. Young girls in low-income communities face something called period poverty, or the lack of access to menstrual products and other resources to deal with and manage their cycles, something that happens every month. The Journal of Public Health estimates that 16.9 million women, or 16.9 million people who menstruate live in poverty in the US, and 2/3 of those, which is 11 million, could not afford menstrual products at some point in the past year. Many have to choose between their own menstrual care and food to feed themselves or their families. Along with that, many schools in underrepresented communities, just like the one we are sitting in right now, see higher levels of absenteeism among people who menstruate. This can lead to falling behind in classes, having lower grades, and amplifies into dropouts and feeds into the cycle of inequality. People without high school diplomas have difficulty entering the job market, and when they do, they're likely to have low-paying jobs without security. Young people experiencing period poverty tend to suffer higher levels of isolation and depression, especially during the pandemic, and can be more susceptible to systemic infections when they have no choice but to improvise their own menstrual care. I see period poverty as a critical health crisis which is not being publicized or addressed. So, what can we do? After the Roe versus Wade decision last year, I lost all faith in the powers that be. I have no faith in our government. I fully believe we need to stand together and resist their attacks on our freedoms. When you think of resistance, the first thought may be of tear gas protests, which are important, and I thank those who endure that part of the struggle. But resistance can happen in other ways as well. Anytime we run our whole lives, which is our Unitarian Universalist, I'll call it sex ed course for lack of a better word, we are resisting the stigma that female sexuality and teaching our children of all genders to respect boundaries and form healthy relationships. That's resistance. Anytime we teach a child the correct word for a body part instead of a euphemism, we're resisting the systems that want to keep us in the dark and uneducated. Anytime we donate a package of menstrual pads or tampons to Shiloh Pantry or an organization like Girls Health Period here in Cincinnati, we are empowering young women of color to resist the systems that mean to keep them unequal. In my personal fight for my body, my choice, I'll be finding ways to undermine these systems and help women empower each other and lift one another up. We will come together. We will vote, we will educate, and we will claim our rights whether or not the government wants to recognize them. On that note, Faith Choice Ohio is one organization that's empowering advocates for abortion justice and reproductive freedom via the Jubilee Fund, Ohio's first faith-based abortion fund. So I'm excited to introduce Elaina Ramsey to tell you more. Elaina leads Faith Choice Ohio as its executive director, and she is the first woman of color to lead the organization in its 30-year history. Please join me in welcoming Elaina to our pulpit.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Kim, for your message. I have to say, it's the first time I've heard someone speak about periods in the pulpit. But it should be normal, so thank you. It's an honor to be here and to partner with communities like First UU. And to hear the message just now from Kim, there truly is nothing more sacred than hearing each other's stories and journeys. This is holy ground, and I give thanks. As Ohio's trusted faith voice for choice, we at Faith Choice Ohio seek to protect and advance the reproductive freedom of Ohioans. We do this because of our faith and not in spite of it. And I just heard that faith spoken today through the house band, through the readings, and through this recent message. Kim told me that sometimes she can be inflammatory. But I do not consider her message inflammatory. I consider it an act of witness and truth-telling at its very best. And so that is the work that we do at Faith Choice Ohio, specifically around abortion access, because we know that 1 in 5 people will have an abortion in their lifetime, and that when it comes down to it, everyone loves someone who's had an abortion, even if they don't know, or that someone has not shared directly with them. So that includes people of faith, including those among us today at this service or watching online. Next slide. As such, our mission at Faith Choice Ohio is to empower advocates for abortion, justice, and reproductive freedom. Through education, advocacy, and counseling, we seek to reclaim the moral high ground and to interrupt the cycle of shame and stigma that unfortunately often surrounds conversations about abortion. This work has never been more important as we navigate this reality of a post-Roe world where abortion access has been gutted across the South and the Midwest. But before I jump into what we do at Faith Choice Ohio and how each of you can get involved, I'd like to tell you a bit more about my story and what brings me here today. Because many people assume that because I lead a pro-abortion organization, that I must have always been a lifelong feminist or a strong supporter of abortion justice and reproductive freedom. But nothing could be further from the truth. You see, during my college years and most of my 20s, I confess that I was a fundamentalist evangelical who zealously tried to save everyone from hell, including gay people, those who have abortions, those who identify as Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, or really any other faith tradition outside of Christianity. Over the years, however, I've been on a journey of deconstruction and unlearning, and I've come to see the light and was saved from myself. Thanks be to God. So as I drove down this morning from Columbus, I saw that sign. Y'all know what I mean? That billboard, the hell is real sign. And I couldn't help but laugh at myself and the folly and hubris of youth. Because in many ways, I still believe that hell is real, but not in that self-righteous way that condemns everyone with fire and brimstone and tells them to turn or burn. Instead, I believe in fighting against hell on earth, the real hell of forced birth, and the hell of forcing people to bear pregnancies against their will, the hell of not having access to comprehensive sex education and contraception, let alone menstruation products or affordable health care. And the very real hell of our misguided elected leaders focusing more on banning trans kids from playing sports than caring about the real priorities to keep kids safe from school shootings, police violence, and so on. I, too, don't have a lot of faith in our elected leaders, but I have faith in us. And I'm called to do this work for a variety of reasons, but ultimately because I know too well how religion can be weaponized to shame and stigmatize people. But I do this work with you to reclaim the power of religion and faith and spirituality as a source of healing and for liberation. Next slide. Then thankfully, I don't have to do this work alone. I see some familiar faces up there. I am grateful to do this work with our faith organizers, Reverend Terry Williams and Kelly Fox, who work diligently to resource and equip people of faith across the Buckeye State. And I bring greetings from Rihanna Andrews up there in the blue. She, of course, used to work for First UU, and now since July has served as our volunteer coordinator. She's amazing. Thanks for sharing her with us. And together, the four of us, fight like holy hell for a world where all people have access to birth control, family planning, and abortion care, as well as paid family leave, medical leave, affordable childcare, and so much more. A world where all children are born wanted, welcome, loved, and can be safe to flourish in our communities. A world where people's choices are holy and honored, where there is no reproductive oppression, coercion, or forced birth in the name of God. Our team continues to stand in the gap by providing pastoral and practical support to abortion seekers, and by training congregations and faith communities like yours to boldly advocate for abortion access without apology. And we are committed to supporting the dignity and rights of queer, trans, Black, brown, disabled, immigrant communities, and young folks, many of whom are often forced to carry the burden of unjust abortion bans and restrictions to their bodily autonomy. These are cruel and daunting times for anyone with a uterus or anyone who loves someone with a uterus. But our team has been floored by how folks like you are putting their faith into action for reproductive freedom by joining our trainings and events, as well as fundraising for abortion access with such creativity and generosity. Next slide. So we invite you to get involved, if you haven't already, by checking out our series of trainings. We offer these trainings online. There are 5 of them, and they're open to anyone who wants to learn more about values-based messaging, and also the history of religion and repro and how we got here, as well as the critical importance of, and safety and effectiveness of abortion pills. All of these trainings can be found online at our website, faithchoiceohio.org. And these trainings can also be customized for a variety of groups or any in-person gatherings. Next slide. Most of all, we invite you to volunteer and donate via the Jubilee Fund, Ohio's first faith-based abortion fund that is dedicated to helping Ohioans access abortion care. Last June, we launched the Jubilee Fund as a way to joyfully and compassionately provide abortion seekers with practical support. In partnership with faith communities, we provide transportation, lodging, meals, childcare stipends, and more to anyone who needs or wants an abortion. And this support has ranged from providing a hotel and emotional support for a mother who was cruelly forced to travel all the way to Chicago to terminate a wanted but non-viable pregnancy, all because the 6-week abortion ban that was in place at that time last summer blocked her from accessing abortion right here in Ohio. We've coordinated volunteer drivers all across the state to provide rides to abortion seekers who don't have access to reliable transportation, and instead of now traveling 30 or 40 miles to their nearest clinic, have to travel round trip 300, 400 miles. And they need to get to Cleveland, Toledo, Pittsburgh, or elsewhere in the Midwest for abortion care. And we've also supported those who can't be pregnant at this time, who don't want to be pregnant for whatever reason, but also cannot leave the state, including a parolee who contacted us. And we were able to share information and referrals to one of the 8 remaining abortion clinics in Ohio, as well as provide that critical information about self-managed abortions so that pregnant people can access abortion pills and manage their own care right in the comfort of their own home. These are just a few examples of what we do at the Jubilee Fund, and I hope and pray that you would join us. And yes, invite others to come along in this journey, because we need volunteers to provide administrative support and language interpretation, as well as fundraising support and transportation assistance for people to use their many gifts in service to others. And just know that all volunteers who interact with patients are required to be fully vetted, must undergo a background check, and are trained, fully trained, to provide abortion-positive, anti-racist, trauma-informed care. Next slide. If you'd like to hear more about how you can get involved, you can look us up online on social media, as well as through our websites, including jubileeabortionfund.org. I'll also be available after the service, near the coffee, of course, to answer any questions and share more information. You can also sign up after the service to join our email list so we can keep you posted about all of our excellent other work, including our podcasts and our programs. And be sure to join our list so that we can keep you up to date about what's going on at the State House and how you can engage in advocacy, particularly as we are looking at a citizen-led ballot initiative to codify abortion rights in the Ohio Constitution. And that will take place either this year or 2024. But no matter what happens next, I know that we will rise to the challenge because of the faithful work of congregations, faith leaders, and activists like yourselves. As we continue to press ahead with a moral agenda for reproductive justice, no matter what the government says, no matter what any church says. And we at Faith Choice Ohio are so glad that we can count on your compassion, your support, and your prayers for this work and witness. I thank you for your time, your service, and your generosity. And together, let us continue to fight like holy hell for a more just and equitable world where reproductive justice and bodily autonomy reigns. May it be so.
Thank you, Elaina. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of January is Faith Choice Ohio. Giving to First Church is easy. You can text the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. If you have access to our Breeze member system, you may click Give Now, or you can give online at firstuu.com. You can also write a check to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati and mail it to us at 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. If you are giving to Share the Plate, please write Faith Choice Ohio in the memo line of your check. If this is the first time with us, please let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is gift enough to our church.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion, like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain, I will scream them all out tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on, starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes, 'cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. Losing friends and I'm chasing sleep. Everybody's worried about me. In too deep. Say I'm in too deep. And it's been 2 years, I miss my home, but there's a fire burning in my bones. I still believe, yeah, I still believe. And all of those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain, I will scream them out tonight. Can you hear my voice? This time, this is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on, starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes, 'cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. A lot lot of fight left in me. Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes, 'cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. Now I've still got a lot of fight left in me.
Thank you. I'm always amazed with how much talent we manage to pack into this space. Not just musical, but everything we all bring. So please join me in reading together the words that will appear on the screen as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment that we carry in our hearts until we are together again.